Excuse me, Professor. May I have a moment of your time? Ah, wonderful. I was hoping you might enlighten me. About yourself, that is. You see, I happen to be quite curious about you. Well, because there is something different about you. You possess an air of mystery. I could not help but notice when first we met. I am intrigued, to say the least. I find it rather difficult to put into words. Were I to wax poetic, I would say you remind me of the sea. Have you ever been, Professor? The sea is vast, boundless. On the surface, all seems still. Yet beneath that stillness, it is unfathomably deep. Within, it teems with life. Yet without, one is lucky to glimpse a fleeting shadow. And yet, all one must do is cast a line to grasp hold of all that life. You cannot see it at a glance, but it is there all the same. About fish, of course. Oh, bother. I got sidetracked, didn't I? Right. About the sea. During a storm, the once calm waters become mighty enough to overturn even the vastest ships. Not unlike you. You are calm. You carry yourself with poise. Yet you wield great power. My brother is uncertain of you, however. He referred to you as a youth of dubious origin. Oh, but please do not think ill of him. He is incredibly dedicated to his work. So surely you understand why he would have doubts about one of whom he knows so little. Nobody even seems to know your age. Incidentally, how old are you? Wait, you do not know your own age? You truly are mysterious. Looking at you, it is quite difficult for me to determine. I wonder... Could you be younger than your own students? Who? Me? Well, I am roughly the same age as the other youths here. Be that as it may, it is simply not the case. Oh, by the way, I have actually been considering enrolling in the academy myself, but my brother will not allow it. He is a touch overprotective at times. Oh, my apologies. I am sure you have much work to do. I will not keep you any longer. We must speak again sometime, if that would be all right. Have a lovely day. It has been a while since we last spoke, Professor. Spare me a moment again, will you not? You recall how you helped me and allowed me to join your class, yes? I have learned a great many things since then. Indeed, I have truly grown so much. This personal growth is due in large part to you. And I wish to express my gratitude, sincerely. Excuse me? Are you implying that I am still naive? I will have you know that I have made many friends and am constantly learning new things. Why, when I go to the market, alone, I even haggle. You must be familiar with the delicate art of haggling, in which one negotiates a lower asking price for an item. That is the type of knowledge common only to those as mature as myself. Who? Me? Have you not asked this once before? It is a bit rude to ask repeatedly, you know. Is that so? Well, it seems we have something in common, since I do not know your age either. Come now, there is nothing to be gained from focusing so heavily on age. Touching on a previous discussion, I think I have learned more about you. I mentioned how you possess an air of mystery. I compared you to any old sea, but I have come to realize you are more like a particular sea. one I have seen before. When I was quite small, my mother would take me out to play in the sea. She was an excellent fisher, my mother. I grew to love fish deeply because of her. Well, you see, fish are... Oh, wait. I was talking about the sea, was I not? Anyhow, I sense that, like the sea, your depths are seemingly impenetrable. Yet, despite your unknowable depths, there is something familiar about you. It's as if we have met somewhere, long, long ago. No, I do not think so. It is all quite strange, really. I wonder if we might be distant relatives. No, that cannot be it either. After all, if we were related, that would mean... Though considering all that Rhea has done, it is not entirely outside the realm of possibility. Oh, apologies. Just muttering to myself. It is nothing. Mutterings aside, I mean to say that you do not feel like a stranger to me. For whatever reason, I feel deeply connected to you. And for this, I am glad. Oh, hello, Professor. How nice to see you. You caught me off guard. I was actually just thinking about you. Just a moment ago? Well, I am afraid I just do not understand you. When we first met, I sensed something different about you, something mysterious. And now I am convinced your existence itself is very special. Thinking on it, I know it to be true. You have a crest that should have been lost long ago. You wield the sword of the Creator as if it is nothing. Your hair and eye color changed on that day 5 years ago, to the same sort of color as mine and my brother's. I do not know. My brother refuses to speak to me of it. Since then, you have led us into battle, and thus far, we have always come out victorious. Your comrades and colleagues adore you. They believe in you, in your strength. I doubt there is a single soul who is likened to you. Who are you, really? I simply do not understand. Whatever the case may be, having hair like mine is proof that there is something exceptional about you. I may as well come forward with things. I, too, am unlike others. Surely you recall when I was targeted, specifically for my blood? I may not be special in the ways you are, but my blood is rare. It seems the two of us share a special... differentness. I also believe that we are bound together in some way. Of this I am certain. Therefore, I intend to stay by your side and watch over you. Your existence must be preserved at all cost. Certainly those are the words of a hero. Let us unite our powers. Together, we are unstoppable. Tell me, what is it you were actually trying to say? You cannot possibly be serious. How can this be true? You are sincerely saying that the progenitor god Seteth dwells within you, and that you have inherited her power? That is utterly... bizarre. If I may be so bold, do you consider yourself male or female? I have only ever heard you referred to as a male, but Seteth is most assuredly female. Am I to believe that you are a male goddess? I am not certain how much sense that makes. I suppose there are circumstances by which such a thing is possible. Oh, are you not? But if you have inherited her power, then surely the two of you have become one. Ugh, it all makes my head spin. I suppose I will take your word for it. This is a ring. Oh my, it is beautiful. So delicate and feminine. Is this your ring? So then you walk around with a woman's ring. Surely this is proof that... Am I? Oh wait! Now I recall. I have heard that it is customary to bestow a ring upon the person one wishes to marry. Which would mean... Does this mean what I think it means? Me? You? Us? You mean to tell me that you have fallen in love with me? I think I might faint. No one has ever... Well, of course they have not. Oh, my apologies. I am quite taken aback. Are you most certain I am the one whom you love? I always knew there was a deep, special bond between us. I never quite imagined that it might develop into this. Or perhaps I did imagine it. Often. I must ask once more. Are you certain that you are not the goddess Seteth? This is all so surreal. I graciously accept your proposal and this beautiful ring. Your heart is as vast as the ocean. I ask that you wrap me in your embrace, for now and for all eternity. Excuse me, Professor. May I have a moment of your time? Ah, wonderful. I was hoping you might enlighten me. About yourself, that is. You see, I happen to be quite curious about you. Well, because there is something different about you. You possess an air of mystery. I could not help but notice when first we met. I am intrigued, to say the least. I find it rather difficult to put into words. Were I to wax poetic, I would say you remind me of the sea. Have you ever been, Professor? The sea is vast, boundless. On the surface, all seems still. Yet beneath that stillness, it is unfathomably deep. Within, it teems with life. Yet without, one is lucky to glimpse a fleeting shadow. And yet, all one must do is cast a line to grasp hold of all that life. You cannot see it at a glance, but it is there all the same. About fish, of course. Oh, bother. I got sidetracked, didn't I? Right. About the sea. During a storm, the once calm waters become mighty enough to overturn even the vastest ships. Not unlike you. You are calm. You carry yourself with poise. Yet you wield great power. My brother is uncertain of you, however. He referred to you as a youth of dubious origin. Oh, but please do not think ill of him. He is incredibly dedicated to his work. So surely you'll understand why he would have doubts about one of whom he knows so little. Nobody even seems to know your age. Incidentally, how old are you? Aha! I suspect that if you choose not to say, you must be quite young. Looking at you, it is quite difficult for me to determine. I wonder... Could you be younger than your own students? Who? Me? Well, I am roughly the same age as the other youths here. Be that as it may, it is simply not the case. Oh, by the way, I have actually been considering enrolling in the academy myself, but my brother will not allow it. He is a touch overprotective at times. Oh, my apologies. I am sure you have much work to do. I will not keep you any longer. We must speak again sometime, if that would be all right. Have a lovely day. It has been a while since we last spoke, Professor. Spare me a moment again, will you not? You recall how you helped me and allowed me to join your class, yes? I have learned a great many things since then. Indeed, I have truly grown so much. This personal growth is due in large part to you, and I wish to express my gratitude, sincerely. Excuse me? Are you implying that I am still naive? I will have you know that I have made many friends and am constantly learning new things. Why, when I go to the market, alone, I even haggle. You must be familiar with the delicate art of haggling, in which one negotiates a lower asking price for an item. That is the type of knowledge common only to those as mature as myself. Who? Me? Have you not asked this once before? It is a bit rude to ask repeatedly, you know. Is that so? Well, it seems we have something in common, since I do not know your age either. Come now, there is nothing to be gained from focusing so heavily on age. Touching on a previous discussion, I think I have learned more about you. I mentioned how you possess an air of mystery. I compared you to any old sea, but I have come to realize you are more like a particular sea, one I have seen before. When I was quite small, my mother would take me out to play in the sea. She was an excellent fisher, my mother. I grew to love fish deeply because of her. Well, you see, fish are... Oh, wait. I was talking about the sea, was I not? Anyhow, I sense that, like the sea, your depths are seemingly impenetrable. Yet, despite your unknowable depths, there is something familiar about you. It's as if we have met somewhere, long, long ago. No, I do not think so. It is all quite strange, really. I wonder if we might be distant relatives. No, that cannot be it either. After all, if we were related, that would mean... Though considering all that Rhea has done, it is not entirely outside the realm of possibility. Oh, apologies. Just muttering to myself. It is nothing. Mutterings aside, I mean to say that you do not feel like a stranger to me. For whatever reason, I feel deeply connected to you. And for this, I am glad. Oh, hello, Professor. How nice to see you. You caught me off guard. I was actually just thinking about you. Just a moment ago? Well, I am afraid I just do not understand you. When we first met, I sensed something different about you, something mysterious. And now I am convinced your existence itself is very special. Thinking on it, I know it to be true. You have a crest that should have been lost long ago. You wield the sword of the Creator as if it is nothing. Your hair and eye color changed on that day 5 years ago, to the same sort of color as mine and my brother's. I do not know. My brother refuses to speak to me of it. Since then, you have led us into battle, and thus far, we have always come out victorious. Your comrades and colleagues adore you. They believe in you, in your strength. I doubt there is a single soul who is likened to you. Who are you, really? I simply do not understand. Whatever the case may be, having hair like mine is proof that there is something exceptional about you. I may as well come forward with things. I, too, am unlike others. Surely you recall when I was targeted, specifically for my blood? I may not be special in the ways you are, but my blood is rare. It seems the two of us share a special differentness. I also believe that we are bound together in some way. Of this I am certain. Therefore, I intend to stay by your side and watch over you. Your existence must be preserved at all cost. Certainly those are the words of a hero. Let us unite our powers. Together, we are unstoppable.
Oh, are you on cooking duty today, Flayn? That's unusual.
Indeed I am. I have been working away on this meal for hours now. The only thing is, each time it is my turn to tend to the meals, those in the dining hall seem to miraculously become very busy and evacuate the premises. I make the food, but nobody is ever here to eat it. I do not understand what the issue is. It is such a waste. Even my brother seems to evaporate every time I am in the kitchen. It is quite peculiar.
Well, you're in luck. I've just finished training and am positively ravenous. If you don't mind, I'd love to sample your cooking.
Really? I mean... Yes, please, have some. It is not perfect, but I am certain it will taste quite nice all the same.
I'm sure it will be great. Thank you, Flayn. There were a few suspiciously crunchy bits here and there, but other than that, it was fine.
You liked it? Wow, nobody has ever liked anything I've cooked! If I cannot get anyone else to eat this meal, though, it is going to spoil and go to waste. It is no secret to me that I am not very good at cooking.
Say, Flayn, may I have a second helping?
You actually want... more?
Of course. I wouldn't want it to go to waste after all the effort you put in. This kind of mishap can happen to anyone, you know? Don't let it get you down. Besides, I can tell you put a lot of love and dedication into preparing this food for everyone. That alone makes it taste good.
There is no need for false flattery. The few times I have asked my brother whether or not he enjoyed my cooking, he could not even give me a straight answer. My own brother!
I speak nothing short of the truth, always. It was delicious, and I look forward to eating it again sometime. I'll agree there's no need to make enough for everyone, though. If you like, you could just cook enough for me.
Perhaps. I hope you enjoy the rest of the meal. Why are you out and about so late, Dimitri?
Hello, Flayn. I could ask you the same thing.
Me? I was feeling restless and came here to think.
I see. I'm here for the same reason.
How funny. But, are you feeling well? You look fairly pale.
It's nothing. I just have a bit of a headache.
Oh my. Headaches are quite troublesome, are they not? I am sure it will subside soon. Actually, I am quite talented when it comes to healing magic. If you will allow me, I will have you feeling better in no time.
That's kind of you, but I'm fine.
But why not? Have I offended you somehow?
This headache is something I've dealt with for a while now. Ever since my family and friends were murdered before my eyes. I must never forget that day. I must never allow their deaths to be forgotten. I feel this headache is a reminder of sorts. Of those I failed to protect. and of their murderers who still roam free.
I see. That would explain your somber demeanor. Still, I do not agree with all you are saying. I feel that if I were your father or any of your dear friends whom you lost, I would want you to let go of me eventually. I would never want someone whom I care deeply for to be pained by the loss of me for eternity. And I doubt they would want that either.
Perhaps. Unfortunately, they have left this world, so I can no longer ask their preference.
We cannot ask them directly, but we can imagine how they might have felt. You know who they were as people. As for me, if I am ever to be but a memory in your future, I want you to remember me in a way that brings you joy. I would want you to smile when you recalled me, to feel warmed by the notion that I cherished your company. I cannot imagine I am the only one who feels this way. Surely, anyone who loved another would wish only for their peace and happiness. I must apologize. I was out of line, clearly. I must get some rest now. Please do not stay up too late yourself.
Good night, Flayn. And thank you.
Up this late practicing with your lance, are you?
And what about you? Have you got something on your mind again? You really should go to bed. It is chilly out, and you could catch cold. What's the matter? Have you been having nightmares?
Well, in a certain sense, yes. Can you spare a moment?
Of course.
Thank you. I want to apologize to you. When last we spoke, I mishandled the situation.
Your words that night touched me deeply. It felt as though I had been punched in the gut. But more importantly, I think I owe you an apology. I lied to you.
You did?
Do you recall when I ate that meal you cooked and I told you it was delicious? The truth is that no matter what I eat, I can scarcely taste it. I have not had my sense of taste for 9 years now.
My cooking certainly is not something people often compliment me on.
I am sorry. When I said the food was good, I was just saying what I thought you would want to hear.
An apology is not necessary. You were only trying to be kind, after all.
In the end, I am not sure it was kind.
Just the same, it was nice to hear. Oh, hey! I have an idea! What if you sampled some really pungent food? Or something extremely spicy? Maybe that would...
Flayn.
Yes?
I like your cooking. I cannot taste it properly, but in my book, it is truly delicious.
No need for the flattery. Anyhow, maybe someday you will get your taste back. I hope then you will be able to compliment me sincerely about my cooking. Oh.
Flayn? What is the matter? Is something weighing on your mind again? It is freezing out here. You should be bundled up in your warm bed.
Listen, Dimitri. The truth is, I am afraid of sleeping.
Afraid of it? Why?
I am afraid that when I close my eyes, I shall fall into a very deep sleep. One from which I cannot wake up. For years upon years. Then when I finally awaken, everyone I know and love will be long gone. Vanished with the sands of time. I am sure it seems silly. But try as I might, I cannot shake this fear.
I cannot quite grasp what you are describing. But I can promise you one thing. No matter how many years go by, I will always remember you.
I appreciate the sentiment. Even so, one day...
Listen carefully, Flayn. There is something I have been wanting to tell you.
Oh? What is that?
You know that dish you made the other day? It was so sweet, it made my tongue go numb.
I am not so sure that is a good thing.
Well, I could only really taste the first bite, so I may have been imagining it. But still, I was so happy. That moment will always put a smile on my face whenever I remember it. I could never forget you, Flayn. I promise. Besides, we have fought side by side. We are friends. I am sure all of the others would say the same. Is something the matter?
You really do not pick up on subtle cues, do you?
Cues?
Well, it is all a part of your charm, I suppose. With you here, I finally feel I can sleep without having to worry at all.
Hey, wait! I did not mean for you to fall asleep right here.
Someday you appreciate food.
Flayn... she is hopeless.
As expected, I am not finding anything at all.
Flayn, are you looking for something in particular?
Oh, I was just hoping for general reading that might illustrate the lives of city dwellers.
Right. Well, there should be regional records somewhere around here.
I haven't need of official records or anything of the like. Just some light reading on the subject.
Light reading? What do you mean by that?
Oh, you know, books that cover things like what types of activities young people enjoy, how they spend their free time, popular fashions and trends, things of that sort. And even, perhaps, stories about romance.
Ah, I see what you're getting at. Try asking a traveling merchant. I hear they keep stock of books like that. As for here, I don't think you're gonna find much aside from a bunch of stuffy records. We do get new books donated on a fairly regular basis, but then Seteth, well, you know.
My brother? I am afraid I do not follow.
Apparently, he directly approves every book before it's allowed to grace these shelves. You know, to make sure nothing inappropriate gets through.
I see. I did not realize he had a hand in such things. Well, I suppose it really is no use searching here.
Why were you looking for those sorts of books anyway?
Well, truth be told, I am not particularly well versed in the ways of ordinary people. Seteth never taught me of such things, and he strictly forbade me from spending much time out and about on my own.
Yeah, I had a feeling that might be the case. Sounds like Seteth.
I understand and appreciate that he acted from a place of concern, of course.
Without a doubt. It's obvious that you're his whole world, for better or worse. By the way, I've been wondering, are you two from a noble family? You've clearly had a rather high-class upbringing, and both of you have crests. That can only mean you come from a prominent bloodline, right?
Of course not. No, you are mistaken.
So, your refined way of speaking isn't because of your upbringing?
I was not aware that my speech differed so greatly from my companions. Do I really sound so formal to you?
Well, look, don't worry too much about it. I'm probably just overthinking things. Probably. Hi, Flayn. Have the Four Saints caught your fancy?
Hello there, Claude. No, not particularly. I was merely looking.
I see. In any case, do you mind if I ask you a little something? It's about your family's origin.
This again? There is truly nothing of interest to discuss on that topic.
Ah, but when you try to change the subject like that, it drives me mad with curiosity. That said, taking a secret by force isn't my style. That's why I devised a different approach. Relentless nagging.
Might I suggest giving up entirely? Truth be told, my brother has asked that I not speak of my background to anyone.
I thought it might be something like that. Oh well, guess I'd better give up on trying to get you to tell me yourself. Instead, why don't I tell you about the theory I've come up with?
You've concocted a theory, have you? I suppose there is no harm in listening to it.
I did a bit of investigating into the crests that you and Seteth bear. Seteth's is the major crest of Keyhole, and yours is the major crest of Sethlene.
Where did you learn of this?
Oh, I just took a peek at some records by a renowned crest scholar. I'd rather not say more than that. Anyway, my point is that I don't think I've ever heard of two siblings each bearing the major crests of a pair of saints. If the legends are true, then Saint Keyhole was Saint Sethlene's father, wasn't he? Which means if you and Seteth were the descendants of Saint Sethlene, that would explain how you two came to possess Keyhole and Sethlene's crests.
You mean to suggest that my brother and I are the children's children's children of Sethlene?
That about sums it up.
An interesting theory, to say the least. But surely you must know. Saint Sethlene was never married. There are no tales of her having ever had children.
Sure, but the possibilities are endless. It's not like legends are known for their accuracy. But based on your reaction, I guess I'm probably following a bad lead here. Hello, Flayn. Isn't it about time you told me the truth?
About what exactly?
Who you really are. Villains are after you for your blood. There's no doubt that you're someone special. And that's why Seteth is always worrying about you so much, right?
Well, yes. I see no reason to hide that fact.
But just what makes that blood of yours so special? More than anything, I've been wanting to find out Teach's true identity. But yours is bothering me almost as much. Somehow, I can't seem to stop thinking about you. It's almost like a crush. I have a crush on your secrets, sweet Flayn.
Such flattery.
I've tried asking Seteth, but there's no sign of him budging on the issue. At this point, I guess I just need better bargaining skills. Or how about this? If you tell me the truth, I'll do anything you say.
That is not something I am willing to share, unfortunately. However, since you are so passionate on the matter, I will promise you something.
What's that?
If you somehow manage to uncover the truth of my identity, I will acknowledge it as truth.
That's real nice of you and all, but I think if I could come up with the truth, I'd be able to tell from your reaction anyway. You're not great at hiding your emotions, after all.
If you do somehow figure it out, then I would ask something of you, Claude. I would ask that you reveal your own true identity.
Now that's a request I wasn't expecting.
It has been clear to me for quite some time now that you are no ordinary noble. I have been pondering, well, you, quite a lot lately. The curiosity is enough to drive me mad.
I see. Well, that's an interesting turn of events. Looks like we both have a little crush on our hands, huh? I hope the day comes when we can talk freely about both of our identities.
I have told you already, I am quite all right.
You say that, but...
I do not care what you have to say. I could not bear to stand here and do nothing.
Flayn?
Hey there, Flayn. Looks like Seteth is as overprotective as ever.
Eavesdropping, were you? Well, you are spot on. I do wish you would leave me be and learn to trust me.
Listen, Flayn. Before I take a stab at your true identity, there's something I want to ask.
And what is that?
Seteth is your father, isn't he?
Pardon me?
I've been thinking about this for a while, and my latest theory doesn't make sense otherwise. That overprotective attitude of his, it seems like more than just sibling concern. More like a father protecting his only daughter.
How can you be so sure? Hilda's brother and Raphael are quite similar, are they not?
They're both pretty clingy, sure, but even they are willing to let their sisters live their own lives. Whereas Seteth, there's something more at play there, an entirely different dynamic.
I imagine that is because
even taking into account your special blood and the people targeting you because of it. I feel like Seteth has devoted his whole being to you, like only a father would.
Have you confronted my brother with your theory?
As if he'd tell me anything, even if I did. Though maybe if I tried to trick a reaction out of him. I could try calling out, "Daddy!" from behind him when he least expects it. Nah, he'd probably kill me if I tried that. Not a good idea.
That sounds most entertaining. I would love to see you give it a try. Perhaps you could request a...
Father, please grant me your daughter's hand in marriage.
Oh, I can feel my face turning red.
Hey now, don't joke about that. That's something that should be done properly when the right time comes.
Do you mean to say that the right time will come eventually then?
Well, you never know what the future holds. But forget that for now. I want to talk about...
As though this were something easily shelved. This topic holds far more appeal than that of identities, if you ask me. What is that lovely smell? It seems to be coming from the training area. What could it be?
You have met your match, Rust. Ah, so stubborn.
Good day to you, Ferdinand. You smell amazing. That is you I am smelling, is it not?
Ah, Flayn, hello. Are you referring to the smell of this oil?
Aha! Yes, that is the smell, all right.
I am simply doing some armor maintenance. A little oil keeps the rust at bay, ensuring that the armor moves smoothly, without any hitches.
I see. I thought maybe you were doing some cooking. You smell a bit like food. But I suppose that is the oil tricking my nose.
I would not cook in the training area. Are you hungry by chance?
Not really, no. But is that oil not also used for cooking? For things like frying meat or drizzling over a nice crisp salad? Things of that nature? Were I to coat my armor in oil that smells of food, I would be distracted by hunger at all times.
I doubt that amidst actual fighting, the smell would still make you hungry. When you are in the thick of it, you devote all your focus and energy to the fight. There is no time to feel peckish.
I suppose you're right. And actually, all of this talk of delicious oil has made me hungry.
In that case, I will accompany you to the dining hall. I will be finished in a couple of minutes.
I must apologize, Ferdinand, but I cannot wait even a moment for you. I am famished. I shall be in the dining hall, getting my fill of fried goodies.
Well, that was quick. I will admit, now that she has mentioned it, it is a rather appetizing smell.
Good day, Ferdinand. Working on your armor again?
Good day to you too. That is right. I have been overusing it a bit lately. Now, allow me to wager a guess. Are you feeling hungry as usual?
As usual? It is not as though I am always searching for a meal. I am rather interested in armor. Do you mind if I peer over your shoulder while you work?
Of course not. Please, feel free to observe.
Thank you for allowing me the pleasure. Oh, so many different types. Wow! Helmets, armor, gauntlets. The range of defensive items seems innumerable. This one seems different from the rest of them. It is akin to a gauntlet, except...
Flayn, careful!
Huh? Oh!
Flayn, are you alright? Did you injure yourself?
I am well. But what was that?
That could have been serious. Please forgive me. I should have warned you first. This is a new type of gauntlet with a spring-loaded blade over the knuckles. The mechanism is rather easily triggered. How foolish of me not to warn you.
No, I am the one who was overly curious and reached out without permission. My apologies. But, When you snatched me out of harm's way, you embraced me quite tightly.
Yes. You were in danger and my instincts simply took hold. I hope you will forgive my rashness.
No, it is not that at all. It is just... you hugged me so tight.
Did it hurt? I am so sorry, Flayn. I did not mean to cause you any discomfort.
Not at all. Not in the slightest. Anyway, I had better be on my way.
Such a delicate creature. And that sweet demeanor. Yeah, snap out of it, Ferdinand. Flayn, I hope you will allow me to apologize.
Why would you need to do that?
Last time, when I was working on my armor, you could have been gravely injured. You have been avoiding me ever since, so I want to reiterate how very sorry I am.
I'm not sure that's entirely the case.
So you are not avoiding me?
To be perfectly honest, I felt a bit embarrassed. When you embraced me before, it really caught me off guard. You're surprisingly strong for how slender you appear. Anyway, it all got me rather flustered.
Oh, I see. Well, I do train quite often. On the battlefield, it is perfectly common to lift up a wounded comrade. It has nothing to do with your gender. In the heat of the moment, I pay no attention to such things. That is, how I would explain it.
I see. So you have a well of strength for embracing people, it seems.
Well, I would not put it like that. Usually, when I embrace people, it is in the context of battle.
Is that so? So the embrace was nothing more than a rescue. Perhaps I was flustered needlessly. I wonder if you would consider embracing me when my life is not in peril.
Huh? Why?
Because I'd like to feel that way again. That's why. How about it? Or is your capacity for embracing limited exclusively to warfare?
Oh, I see what is going on here. I had forgotten how charmingly ethereal you can be. Very well. As per your request, I shall embrace you again.
I'm delighted. Does right now work for you?
Why, of course. Easily done. Although, perhaps we shouldn't tell Seteth.
Agreed. Better to let this be our little secret. Now then, where is that book on dance?
Hello, Flayn. I'm curious if you could confirm some suspicions I have.
Hello, Linhardt. What is it?
I've recently been lost in study on the topic of Saint Seteth. You're familiar with her life, yes?
I know a little of her, as do many. But what does this have to do with me?
Interesting that you would ask that. Your question betrays your understanding of my inquiry.
I am quite certain that it does not, as a matter of fact.
I have interviewed several members of the Academy and the Monastery. All agree that you have trouble focusing on detail-oriented work. As I mentioned, I have been carefully researching Saint Seteth's history, and I found several intriguing anecdotes concerning her life. Granted, it is not stated explicitly in the texts, but it is easy enough to read between the lines and get to the underlying truth. The authors of several tomes, all written within 50 years of Saint Seteth's passing, imply she found it difficult to maintain focus on detail-oriented tasks. Then, just this morning, as I was studying statues of Saint Seteth, I came to realize how similar her visage is to your own. Interesting, no?
I do not appreciate your disrespectful approach to this topic.
No disrespect intended, I assure you. Saint Seteth is a major saint. I only mean to say that looking like her is an honor.
I actually meant that you are being disrespectful to Saint Seteth.
There was one other item.
If you must.
You are quite skilled in white magic, yes? My understanding is that you have a very high affinity for the art.
Yes, I do. I am confident in my abilities. I am glad of my abilities, for it is a way in which I am able to help others.
Indeed. Once more an echo of Saint Seteth. I'm so curious as to why such similarities exist. Her crest? Perhaps hereditary traits then? Or is it possible I am allowing myself to see patterns where there are none?
I am very busy searching for a book. I will be going now.
Flayn, I have another question for you, if you please.
Another one, Linhardt? When will you leave me in peace?
A breakthrough has been made concerning your crest. A major crest of Saint Seteth, correct?
Well, yes. I've been trying to keep that quiet.
Part of my interest on this topic is that I possess a minor crest of Seteth myself.
I am aware.
Possessing a minor crest is uncommon, but not rare among the noble families. However, a major crest of Seteth, that is beyond rare.
Oh, is it?
I am quite curious as to why you were born with such a rare major crest. Given that mine is a minor crest of the same type, it's possible that you and I are distant relations.
You and I related? I am quite certain that is not the case.
Oh, do you have access to a detailed ancestry? That could be a most useful tome.
No, I do not. However...
A shame. Oh, to explore one's lineage and investigate such possibilities. Alas, the odds of your being a direct descendant of Saint Seteth are quite low. The prevailing theory among respectable scholars is that Saint Seteth died having never married.
It's true she's unmarried. Was unmarried, that is. I hate to disappoint you, but I'm not a descendant of Saint Seteth. Of this, I can assure you.
While I do not subscribe to your absolute certainty, I do agree your relation to her is highly unlikely. Yet there is some connection between yourself and Saint Seteth.
What was that you were mumbling to yourself?
Nothing. My apologies. Simply thinking aloud. I do hope we can continue this discussion sometime.
He always acts so oddly. It makes me ill at ease.
Reading anything interesting?
Oh, good day, Linhardt. At the moment, I'm simply browsing history books. Reading these, it's easy to imagine what it would feel like to exist long ago.
Fodlan's history spans thousands of years. We're lucky to have so many detailed records of our past. I have knowledge of how people lived, who they loved, what wars they fought, and why. But I'd never describe it as feeling like I was living in the past.
And why not? It's only a figure of speech.
About our shared crests.
Goodness, this again?
There's an experiment I wish to attempt, although it might prove to be a bit troublesome.
A troublesome experiment? You know I do not like pain.
Pain? No, there won't... Well, I'm unsure of the results, but that's why they call it an experiment. It would, of course, require that you and I get married.
I beg your pardon?
Yes. If bearers of major and minor Seteth crests reproduce, what crest would the offspring possess, if any? I must know, and thought the question might pique your interest as well.
Are you actually speaking about a hypothetical future with me? Involving... children?
Yes. Such parentage has never been documented. A whole new field of research awaits. It would be a worthy experiment, and we'd need only 5 or so children for a good sample size.
Do you mind going back to what you mentioned earlier?
Pardon? Which part?
The part about marrying and having children! I've always believed, rather firmly, that marriage is something between two people who love one another.
I like you well enough to advance a field of study to previously unknown heights. How do you feel?
This is the first I've heard of such a thing from you.
Do you imagine I've spent all this time talking to you because I was bored? Anyway, I'm pretty worn out now, so let's continue this conversation another time, yes?
Does conversing with me tire you out so much?
Talking to anybody tires me out. Thinking, putting thoughts into words, opening my mouth, all tiring. Do give some thought to my proposal. Think of how far we could advance Crest research, you and I.
Experimental marriage and children? He likes me? I don't understand. I don't understand at all. Tonight's meal looks exquisite. Time for me to make the most of this opportunity.
Are you all right? Slow down. Your dinner is not going anywhere.
I am not sure it is your business to tell me how to consume my meal. You must admit this food is absolutely delectable. I have not eaten something this tasty in ages.
Well, good.
I suppose my enthusiasm is a tad overwhelming. Do you happen to know who cooked this meal?
I did.
You are the chef?
Today? Yes.
I do not think I have ever been brought to tears by a meal. Oh, Dedue, you are a chef without peer. Why, that was truly more delicious than anything I have eaten in all my years.
I highly doubt that.
No need for modesty. I could certainly never make anything even remotely so delicious. That gives me an idea. Will you please teach me how to cook such delicacies as the one I ate just now?
You want me to teach you to cook?
Indeed! I have never been so emotional over cuisine. You must teach me your ways.
Very well. But only if you are serious, and do not quit halfway through.
Oh, I would not dream of it. Thank you, Chef Dedue.
Chop the vegetables into bite-sized pieces. After that, skim the top layer off the pan. Be mindful of the heat.
Certainly, Chef Dedue.
There is no need to call me that. Are you displeased?
No, not in the slightest. I just got momentarily sleepy. It happens to me from time to time. Let me see. First, chop the vegetables. Coming right up, Chef. Dedue?
Good.
I am so bored. Day in and day out, it is nothing but dicing vegetables and waiting for water to boil. I want to feel like I am actually cooking. It is not as though I do not know the basics. He could at least let me hold the spatula sometime.
Next, we peel the vegetables.
Chef Dedue, I was hoping to speak with you regarding something that has been on my mind.
Speak?
Surely you have noticed my skill while wielding pans and knives. Therefore, I think it is time you taught me how to cook. Beyond all this water boiling and vegetable chopping business.
Impossible.
But why?
All must be done in the proper sequence. And the first step here, whether you like it or not, is to learn to use the tools perfectly.
Come now! You have seen how I use a ladle. You know I'm good for it. He has left me no option but to take matters into my own hands. Stubborn you may be, Chef Dedue, but I will show you the true meaning of delicious. Hello there, Dedue. I just want to say that I am really terribly sorry.
For what?
I tried to cook, on my own. It was an absolute disaster. Adding that seasoning. Adding all that seasoning. What a mistake.
Mistakes happen.
But Chef, that is, Dedue, I defied your instructions. Quite blatantly, I might add. I tried to cook before I had gained mastery over the tools. I have been a terrible student. Are you going to stop teaching me now?
Is that what you want?
Not in the slightest. I desperately want to learn from you.
As you were then.
Truly?
You have not disappointed me. The food itself tasted awful, of course, but there was more to it than that. I could feel the thought you put into it, the wish to please others, to be faithful to what you've learned.
You actually ate the food I made?
I did. The ingredients were chopped to perfection. You also seem to have learned how to handle fish without my instruction.
I learned by watching you.
You have talent. One day you will surpass me.
I was certain you would be angry with me. It is decided then. Someday, you will exclaim that something I made is delicious. I do not quite know how many years it will take, but I am willing to rise to the challenge. Please help me get there.
I will. However long it takes, I look forward to it. Now, your next lesson will consist of the selection and seasoning of ingredients.
Of course, Chef. Dedue, rather.
Call me whatever you want.
Oh, this is so exciting! Let me see. Chef Dedue, Master Chef Duda, oh, Supreme Chef Deddy Pie!
I suppose I've already committed.
Oh, I know! Chef Deddles! Spectacular work, Felix!
Why are you here? You're interrupting.
Oh, my apologies. I simply thought you were doing a great job. Just how sharp is that blade of yours, Felix? Do you imagine you might be able to cut something cleanly with it?
Probably.
Ah, wonderful. I have a special request for you then.
You want me to cut this firewood?
I do. I shall toss them one by one to you, and you shall make a sweeping blow to slice them.
Sounds like a chore.
I saw a knight do it once, so surely you can as well. Or perhaps you are worried that you are not capable.
What? I am more than capable.
Right. Show me what you are made of. Here it comes.
Doing them one by one is tedious. Just throw them all at once.
All of them? If you insist. Here we go! Wow, you truly are spectacular!
I know.
You are undoubtedly the most revered woodcutter in all the land. Now I am intrigued. Next time, let us try an even larger woodpile.
Why did I agree to this? Flayn, what's that you're hiding?
Oh no, my surprise is spoiled. I had brought some fruits for you to cut up in addition to the firewood. I thought some variation might prove amusing.
No, I'm not doing that again. I've got better uses for my sword than chopping up fruit and firewood.
I cannot imagine what could be better than chopping fruit.
Chopping up my enemies.
You say that as though you have many enemies. So you would rather chop people than firewood, is that it?
That's not how I put it, but a blade's purpose is to kill. To chop wood, use an axe. To chop food, use a knife. It's simple.
Surely it is not forbidden to use your sword for other things, like chopping fruit. Swords that cut inanimate objects are serving a much finer purpose than those that cut living beings.
What a noble sentiment. But without a blade to cut down your enemies, you cannot win. Those who are weak lose everything and they die. Those who are strong win and live on. I understand why you balk at bloodshed, but you must know that it has a purpose.
And what purpose might that be?
A purpose. Let's just leave it at that. I'm not in the mood to debate you. I'll continue to wield my sword, and if necessary, cut down my enemies.
He certainly is a stubborn one. Felix!
You, what is it now?
Do not fret. I have not come to ask you to chop wood. I have other things to speak of with you. You said that for one to live, they must also be prepared to kill.
This again. Yes, that's what I said. You still have a problem with that?
No, I do not have a problem with it at all. I simply want you to live too.
Oh, okay. Then I'll get back to my training.
Excuse me, I am not finished yet. During this time of war, you must wield your sword to ensure your own life. If that is the case, then it follows that we should bring an end to this war.
To end the war, you'd have to kill more people.
Perhaps that is true. But once all is said and done, there would no longer be a need to kill, only to live. Is that not so?
That's pure fantasy. But if it came to pass, there would be no place for me. What would I do? I was raised to swing a sword. It's all I know. In a world without strife, warriors like me would be lost souls. It's tragic in a way. We fight to bring peace, and then, if we achieve it, we lose our purpose.
I do not think that is anything you should worry yourself over. If the war ends and peace reigns, I shall be sure to have plenty of wood chopping for you to do.
What a generous offer.
And you will never be short on fruits and vegetables to chop for me either. If you felt like you lost your purpose in life, surely you would find a new purpose. It is not like you to be afraid of losing something after all.
I never thought about it, but maybe there is a path for me in peacetime. I'm intrigued. I might even like to realize this fantasy of yours.
Oh, that brings me such joy, Felix. Together we can make this a reality. I can see it now. A life where you slice vegetables rather than people. I will greatly enjoy the day when we inhabit a world like that.
Hey there, Flayn. I thought I'd drop by and see if you'd care for a...
Now just a moment, Sylvain. If you must speak with me, I implore you to do so from where you stand. My apologies if this comes across as rude, but please do not come any closer to me.
Excuse me?
I am sorry. My brother has explicitly warned me not to go near you.
Seteth said that? I bet he also told you any woman who comes too close to me is, how does he say it? Doomed to misfortune?
He used those very words. Is it true then?
Come on. He's just messing with you, obviously.
Of course I would prefer to believe that, but one can never know for certain. Particularly when similar stories are constantly in circulation about you. I have heard that men and women alike have been seduced by your nefarious ways.
I hate to suggest my talents are being oversold, but...
I have heard that you toy with people's emotions, like a cat toys with its prey.
do I really look like such a villain to you?
Well, perhaps not. You do not strike me as much of a charmer.
When you put it like that, I feel like I should defend... Yeah, forget it. Let's get to the actual point.
Did I not tell you, Sylvain? Stay away from me.
It's kind of awkward talking from so far away. Can I please step just a little?
Truly, there are countless terrible stories of your behavior. I've heard that you panic when there aren't women around to flirt with, that you've gone as far as flirting with horses and even chickens.
Oh, come on. Who would even... You should know that your brother has an overactive imagination.
I would like to believe that you are a sincere and reputable person, Sylvain. But there is no smoke without fire. Or so the saying goes.
I may not be the most respectable fellow you'll ever meet, but...
Until I can be certain, please refrain from coming too close to me. Now, if you will excuse me, I must be on my way.
Flayn, wait! Come back! And she's gone. All I was trying to do was deliver a message.
Flayn, hey! The professor said we need to come to the cathedral! I'll run really far ahead so you don't have to walk near me.
There, I tried telling her. The professor can't be mad about that.
Sylvain.
Hi. Why do you look so down? But hey, if you're talking to me of your own accord, can I assume you've figured out I'm not a monster?
I wanted to apologize about my treatment of you earlier, Sylvain. I am not normally one to put stock in such rumors.
Nothing to be upset about. I mean, I've kind of earned that reputation. I've got this sickness. When I see a pretty girl, I can't stop myself from flirting with her. Like you, for instance.
Oh, I am so sorry to hear of your illness. Perhaps my magic will help heal you.
Huh? No, I didn't mean it like that.
No? Are you not ill then?
You know what? Let's move on. Can I take this to mean everything is good between us?
Of course. Sylvain, I look forward to getting to know you without the falsity of rumors.
Great. Would you like to celebrate our new friendship by joining me for a meal?
You would treat me to a feast? That is very kind of you.
A chance to spend time with a sweet girl like yourself? It's a pleasure. Your voice like birdsong, your eyes clear as diamonds. But above all, I'm drawn to your kind and loving heart. I am a captive to your charms, Flayn.
I hear that very frequently. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess a girl as cute as you would get a lot of compliments.
Anyway, what type of meal were you considering, Sylvain? I would love some seafood, followed by a delicious cake. Oh, I am absolutely famished, as I often am. Shall we be on our way?
She's a tough one. Sheltered girls like her usually fall for that kind of stuff. But she's much too savvy, even for a smooth talker like myself.
Yet another lovely day. On such a fine day as this, it would certainly be nice to go for a stroll with someone. I wonder if anyone is around. Oh my, such awful noises. Who, or rather, what is making those sounds?
Huh? Oh, hello, Flayn!
My apologies. I feel a bit better now.
Oh, you scared me. You nearly knocked me over with that scream.
Well, you startled me, appearing out of nowhere and making such sounds. What is it you are doing here anyway?
I'm just out here using logs to train.
Wow, are you really capable of lifting something so massive, Raphael?
Of course. Wanna see? See? Told you I could do it.
That was magnificent. Do you suppose I could give it a try as well?
It might be a bit too much for your tiny arms.
Tiny or no, I want to be stronger. Do you have any tips for someone both willing and eager to grow?
It's probably best to start by practicing your battle cry. If you let out a good shout, you'll feel even more powerful.
You are a font of knowledge. Can you apply your wisdom and show me by example?
No problem. Just follow my lead. Yeah! Hurrah!
Yeah! Rah! Wah! Nyar! How did I fare? Do I look stronger now? It's working! I knew this would help! Hello, Raphael. Are you well? Any chance you might be training today?
Of course! My muscles are always ready to train.
I imagine so. Mind if I tag along? I have been practicing my battle cries. I believe you shall notice a marked improvement. Rah! Yeah!
Wow, that sounds much better than last time. But try doing it more like this.
Oh, hearing it anew is positively invigorating. I have much training ahead if I am to become as strong as you.
Try not to strain yourself. You've got smarts, so you shouldn't have to worry about your muscles.
I won't be satisfied until my body is as strong as my mind. As my body is so frail, my brother is endlessly worrying over me.
I know what that's like. I have a little sister too. I always worry about her, even when it's something small, like catching a cold.
Then surely you understand. I want to give my brother peace of mind. If I don't get stronger, I won't be able to do all the things I wish to do. But I'm quite enjoying this. I have never shouted so loudly in all my life. Each time I allow myself to let go in such a way, I feel invigorated.
Well, if you're having fun, I'm not gonna stop you. Go on and shout as much as you want. Give it all you've got and make your brother proud.
Just you wait. I've only just begun.
All right. Gather up your energy deep in your gut and get ready to shout.
Yeah! Rah! Rah! Ah!
Whoa! Yeah!
Ah! Yeah!
Rah! Yeah! Nice work. Here you go. Drink up.
Oh, thank you. This water tastes absolutely divine.
Your shouts are really coming from the gut now. I bet you're getting stronger too.
I'm not so sure I'm stronger, but somehow, when I shout, I'm able to move more books than normal. Although my brother becomes very anxious anytime he hears me shouting. I do suppose my body feels a bit sturdier now, though. I'm so very grateful to you, Raphael.
Oh no, thank you. I'm just happy to have someone to shout with.
But doesn't all this shouting keep you from your precious workout regimen?
Nah, don't worry about that. I think I'm in better shape now than I was before. My muscles work overtime when they hear you shouting so close to me.
Isn't that wonderful? Come along, Raphael's muscles. We can do this. It is my wish that someday I'll be able to lift a log all on my own with these arms of mine.
I'm sure they will. I used to think you were a lost cause, but look at you now. If you really want to get there, you gotta start training your muscles when we shout, all right? You've already got big brains, but if we can get you big muscles too, you're gonna be invincible.
Invincible! I like the sound of that. Roar! Ah!
Whoa! Ah!
Ah! Ah!
Yeah! Yeah!
Flayn, I'm so sorry. Are you hurt?
No need for concern. I'm quite all right.
Are you sure you're all right? Were you injured?
No, nothing of the sort. I just got a bit dizzy, standing up so quickly.
We should go to the infirmary. Come on, I can take you there.
Come now. I appreciate the concern, but I am quite all right. Look, I am perfectly fine now. See? Ignatz. Are you... there?
Yes. I'm sorry. Did you say something?
Mm-hmm. I understand now.
Understand what?
Though I know little regarding affairs of the heart, even I can clearly see one's intent when they stare so much. I am sorry, but at the moment I am not looking for... well...
Oh, no. You misunderstood.
You just what? What is it?
I'm just fascinated by you.
Fascinated? By me?
Yes. Your gaze, full of divine dignity. Your silhouette, as elegant as a statue. If Saint Seteth herself were reborn, you would look no less wondrous than she.
I see.
Oh, I'm sorry. So sorry. I don't know what came over me, saying something like that.
No, not at all. Tell me, what are your thoughts on Saint Seteth exactly?
Well, from the few accounts I've heard, she was a beauty, and her kindness was inexhaustible.
Very good. As a reward, I shall not report your behavior to my brother. This time.
Yes, I'd be most grateful if you didn't. I can hardly imagine what Seteth would do if he found out.
Well then, farewell. Perhaps we will have another chance to chat later.
She seemed awfully pleased, didn't she? Nothing here.
What are you doing?
Oh, Flayn! I've just been researching the exploits of Saint Seteth.
And why is it you're doing that precisely?
Well, painting is a hobby of mine, and I thought I might like to capture her likeness.
Well, how lovely. But how is researching her exploits necessary for painting?
If I wanted to use a statue of Saint Seteth for my reference, it wouldn't be necessary. But that's not what I want. I wish to paint Saint Seteth herself, looking exactly as she did when she was alive. And if I don't know anything about who she was on the inside, the image won't be true to life. So I wanted to find some hints about who she was, and that's why I've been researching her deeds.
Ah, so you were hoping to find out what type of girl she was.
Girl? Interesting way of putting it, but yes, more or less.
I see. Yes, it is all quite clear to me now.
What's happening?
Okay then. Allow me to share with you what I know of Seteth's deeds. Long ago, in a world ravaged by war, Seteth led a secluded life with her father, Keyhole. One day, they met Saint Seros, who was grieved by the chaos and destruction of war. And so, the three decided to join forces.
Huh? But I thought the saints gathered following a revelation from the goddess.
At the Battle of Tailteen, they fought against the 10 elites led by Nemesis, who sought to conquer the whole world. Seteth tended to her allies on the field of battle, until she exhausted all her strength. Then, she fell into a long slumber.
But according to legend, she used her miraculous powers to heal all of the wounded.
Interesting story, is it not? Have you perhaps learned something new about Seteth?
Having heard all that, I'd say she seems incredible.
Incredible? Well, I haven't heard that before. I feel certain you and I will be fast friends. Let us talk again soon.
Huh. Who knew Flayn was such an expert on Seteth? Flayn! Excuse me, quick question. Can I paint you?
Oh, hello, Ignatz. What an unexpected surprise.
I'd like to paint your portrait, Flayn. For some reason, whenever I try to visualize Saint Sethethlene, I think of you.
No wonder I've repeatedly felt someone's eyes boring holes into the back of my head lately. You're quite lucky my brother hasn't noticed. It would be wise to back away from me before he does. Although... I shall agree to your request, on the understanding that you paint me to be more illustrious than Saint Sethethlene.
More illustrious than the statue? Surely you mean as illustrious.
Am I not the more illustrious? The more breathtaking?
Well, true, you are a sight to behold. Though I'm not sure about the competitive tenor of that question. I'd expect you, as an admirer of Saint Sethethlene, to speak more... admiringly?
An admirer, You say such funny things. Now then, would you like me to pose? Oh, I have many ideas up my sleeve.
A pose? No need. You can just sit down.
Are you certain about that? It sounds rather... dull. How long will it take you?
A few days, I imagine, but that's okay. You can just come by whenever you have time. Oh, and if you don't mind, could you tell me some more stories about her? The stories you tell about Saint Sethethlene are so much more vivid than the other legends I've heard. She seems so impressive, so fierce. I can't help but admire her too.
Actually, I have changed my mind. No longer do you need to paint me as illustrious. Instead, paint me as fierce!
Sure, I guess. I think cute might suit you a little better, though.
Did you not just say that Saint Sethethlene had an impressive and fierce way about her? Well, if that is the case, then I too would like to look fierce. You're welcome to paint me repeatedly until you get the expressiveness just right. Rather, you must paint me repeatedly until I am satisfied with the outcome.
I'm not sure I can ever produce a painting that completely satisfies you. But I'll try. I said I would, and I will not go back on my word. Even if this painting takes me months. That wouldn't be a problem, would it?
Not at all. We're friends, aren't we? I am happy to help with a friend's request, even if it takes centuries to complete.
Thank you for that. Though I hope it doesn't take quite that long.
Flayn! There you are. I've been looking everywhere for you.
You worry too much, brother.
I think a kidnapping is good cause for concern. I was so worried about you I nearly fainted.
Had that not happened, I would have never been allowed to join the professor's class. Even from something so dire, some good did come of it.
That is a dangerous attitude. This world is full of peril. You must be more vigilant. Please understand, I allowed you to enroll here only because I thought it best for your safety.
I am very much aware of that. You wanted to speak to me of something?
Yes, my dear little sister. You are kind beyond all measure, and you are the very picture of innocence. But precisely because of these very fine qualities, I worry about your interactions with the others here. This year's students are particularly eccentric. As your brother, it is my duty to help you with any concerns you may have.
I do appreciate the offer, but all the students and professors have treated me exceptionally well.
Even so, there must be at least some worry. Please, you need not conceal anything from me.
You worry far too much. There is truly nothing to share, and nothing for you to fret over.
Are you absolutely sure? The idea of you suffering in silence is unbearable to me.
Enough! I made it clear that nothing is wrong. I stand by my word. Well, there is one concern that comes to mind.
What is it? Tell me. I will help however I can.
There is a certain somebody who seems determined to get in the way of my friendships with my classmates.
What? That's horrible! Fear not. I will handle this scoundrel for you. Just tell me his name.
It is you, brother. Now then, I must be on my way.
What was Flayn getting at just now? Let's see, I was speaking to her. I asked her to share her concerns, and was there something else? No matter. Fear not, Flayn. Your brother will protect you from all harm.
Brother!
Flayn, is something the matter?
I thought I made it clear that I do not want you meddling in the affairs of me and my friends.
I am not quite sure what you are referring to, but I promise you I would never try to stand in your way.
It has come to my attention that you have been running about asking people what they think of me. Asking everyone!
Well, of course I have. It took me quite some time. But for you, it was well worth the effort. I was able to confirm that you are getting along well with everyone. It was very reassuring.
I cannot emphasize enough how embarrassed I was when I found out. And you have caused such a stir for those whom you questioned. Why, one person even said he feared for his life when you cornered him in the dining hall.
The dining hall? Ah, I know the fellow you are referring to. Yes, I've seen the way he looks at you. I recognized in an instant that he had impure feelings for you. As your brother, I took it upon myself to test his resolve. I merely asked him if he was prepared to lay his life on the line for my beloved sister.
He is nothing more than a friend. Kindly keep out of my social business in the future.
I am happy to see that you are making friends, but you should weigh your options more carefully.
Who I befriend is absolutely none of your business. Do you know what they call people like you? Overprotective meddlers. I am no longer a child. Are you incapable of trusting me, even a little?
Of course I trust you, but as an elder brother, I have a certain responsibility.
As my brother?
Obviously.
Oh, never mind it. If you'll excuse me.
Flayn.
Here to pester me, brother?
No, I think I'm the one who ought to be pestered.
Regardless of what I say to you, it is not as though it has any effect in reducing your worry over me.
That is true. No matter where you are, and no matter what you're doing, I will always worry. But that's only because I treasure you so very much. Please understand, I'm not trying to hurt you.
Of that I am well aware. I am touched that you care so deeply. When I think of it, it is my own fault that you have become so overprotective. I cannot blame you.
No, the fault is entirely mine. You were still so young. I placed far too much strain on you, and our lack of resources was no excuse. Worse, I failed to watch you during the battle. Your mother, too. We lost her because of me. Afterward, it broke my heart to see how much you would need to rest just to survive. I swore that I would dedicate every moment remaining in my life to your protection.
Ever since then, I have been afraid of falling asleep. My fear of sleeping is outmatched only by my fear of spending my life alone. Even if it cannot last, I want to live among my peers as one of them, as an ordinary person. Similar to how you and Mother coexisted with your own comrades back then, fighting side by side.
Quite right. I know you must leave the nest someday. No matter how many ages our lives may span, I know that's the way of it.
Father...
Don't.
Nobody is listening, Father. Let me address you as such just this once. I have valued the quiet days you and I have spent alone together, but I am no longer a child. Just as you and Mother met one another, and eventually I was brought into the world, I
know. Please, no more. No matter what happens, you are my daughter. It gives me great joy to see you grow. But please, at least until this war is over, let me continue to worry. you're the most precious person in my life. I can't bear the thought of losing you.
It seems I have no choice in the matter. I shall allow you to worry about me enough for yourself and Mother both. But only that much and no more, my dear Father Keyhole.
Thank you, Seteth.
Hello, Professor Manuela. I wish you to know that I have heard ever so much about your talents.
Whatever are you talking about, Flayn?
Singing! Why, you are wonderfully skilled at it, are you not? Why, I have even overheard people saying your voice is akin to the singing of a goddess.
It makes me happy to hear. But who told you that?
Oh, the students are always speaking of it, which got me to thinking, I may be the only person in all of the Academy who's never heard your beautiful voice in song. So, I was wondering, Manuela, might you sing a little something for me?
Your request is touching, but I can't perform on such short notice. My voice is an instrument and requires proper gentle care. However, the stories are true. I was once the leader of the Middle Franc troupe, but that was a long time ago.
Middle Franc? What do those words mean precisely?
You've never heard of the Middle Franc troupe? It's the single most popular opera company in the Imperial capital. I used to sing on stage with them. I was the star, in fact.
Oh, wow. In all of Enbar? They must not have been around when I was living there.
You used to live in Enbar?
Indeed. Although I was quite a bit younger at the time. It is where I was born, as a matter of fact.
Oh, well, you must have been too young to hear about us.
Yes, that could be. And what precisely is the function of an opera troupe?
You don't know what an opera troupe is? Well, it's a group of performers like myself who act out stories on stage in front of a big audience. Stories with lots of singing.
Oh, I understand now. I certainly have experience in the fine art of storytelling. There is often singing as a part of story time for the children at the monastery.
That is darling, Flayn. But I'm not sure it's quite the same thing as an opera. You see, operas are performed in grand theaters with orchestral accompaniment. Everyone attending wears their finest. It is a very special occasion.
Theaters, they're called? You mean to say that there are buildings exclusively used for telling stories?
You've never even heard of a theater? You're an intelligent girl, Flayn, and the world is full of wonders. You have a lot left to discover.
Hello, Manuela. I was just wondering, what was it like back when you were involved with that opera troupe? Your life must have been quite different from how it is here, I imagine.
My, how bold to ask an adult about their private life. I'll humor you, though. A diva's life is only glamorous while she's on stage. The rest of her time is consumed by grueling training. Just days and days of practicing, beginning at sunrise, with barely a moment to rest from one performance to the next. Then, once the performances begin, you're on stage for 3 shows a day. Absolutely exhausting. Is that anything like you imagined?
It sounds like a world all its own. Thank you. I find the topic fascinating. What sort of roles did you tend to be cast in? As the lead performer, did you play the part of a princess much? Oh, I can only imagine how illustrious that would be.
Yes, I was a princess once or twice. And it was quite something, let me tell you. All those royal jewels and flowing gowns. And they didn't just give me the pretty clothes to wear because I was beautiful, you know. I had to fight and claw my way into every role. But once I was there on stage, singing my solo, and all eyes were on me, it was worth it. I was rewarded for every one of my countless hours of practice. And the cheers when I finished a song, the applause. Oh, I can't properly explain it, but I can tell you, it's an experience I will cherish until the day I die.
Wondrous! It all sounds so very glamorous. Despite how rigorous a schedule you kept, it sounds like the hard work was worth those fleeting moments on stage. Mine has always been a quiet life. It is hard not to feel a twinge of envy, hearing such stories from you.
There's a lot to be said for the quiet life. It was never for me, of course. Still, I hear it's a pretty good deal for a lot of other folks. The thing is, Flayn, well, you always have to remind yourself that if a place shines brighter than anywhere else, its shadows will be darker too.
What do you mean?
Nothing. It's a thing I hope you never come to understand. You know what? The next time you visit, I'll tell you all about the time I played a beautiful princess, and about the handsome prince she fell in love with.
Oh, please! I would love to hear all about it! Manuela, do you recall what you told me? You mentioned that if a place shines brighter than anywhere else, then its shadows will be darker too.
You sound so worried. That was nothing, dear. Call it a joke.
It most certainly did not sound like a joke. Can you please elaborate? Of course, I love hearing about your glamorous past performing on stage. But all that glamour doesn't account for the shadows you spoke of.
Well, I suppose I could share a little. Here's the thing about the opera. Talent isn't enough to earn you a position in a glamorous show. You need money, connections, and, failing those, the stomach to commit a spot of violence. I spent many nights buttering up nobles in power. No matter how humiliating the task, I'd do it, because I wanted to be a star. I hope that kind of talk isn't too shocking for a sweet girl like yourself. Are you disillusioned with me, now that you know my sordid past?
Not at all. Understanding you more deeply, I can see how much strength has been required of you all this time.
Flayn.
I am well aware that survival and striving for dreams sometimes means doing things we would not normally do. Perhaps because you have been so strong, lived with such conviction. Perhaps that is why your songs have touched so many people's hearts.
Oh, you sound very wise all of a sudden. Thank you, Flayn.
I would like to rescind my original request of you.
Your request to hear one of my songs?
Indeed. Instead, I have a different request. I would like to see you perform an opera on stage.
I don't know about that. It's been a long time since I stood on stage.
I imagine you have experienced much since you left the opera company. It follows then that you have developed new insights, charm, and wisdom to share.
Yes, I probably could play a tragic role even better now than I could back then. But it's hardly the time for operas. We need to put an end to this war first.
Agreed. Let us make the curtain fall on this war as soon as possible.
Maybe then we can raise the curtain on a brand new performance. That'd be something, wouldn't it?
That is exactly what I yearn for.